December 2006, Baghdad International Airport, Sadr Air Base, Iraq. Me and my team just got done doing an upload on an aircraft, and as we were leaving the aircraft, it seemed like seconds later there was a huge explosion in our general area. Looked behind in my rearview mirror and saw an explosion fairly close to the aircraft we were just at. Now that day we were lucky, but it's not a day that I will soon forget. Today my goal is to educate you on what PTSD is and how it affects the mind and the body, and what can be done to help combat the effects of PTSD. As an individual that has been diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder, I want to let you know a little bit about some of the effects of it, but let's start out and see what post-traumatic stress disorder exactly is. Post-traumatic stress disorder is not only a mental disorder. According to the freedictionary.com, post-traumatic stress disorder is defined as an anxiety disorder associated with a serious traumatic event and characterized by such symptoms as survivor guilt, reliving the trauma in dreams, numbness, and lack of involvement with reality or reoccurring thoughts and dreams. Traumatic or stressful events that can cause PTSD are endless. Anything can be traumatic to any individual, but they can include the following, but are not limited to physical or sexual assault, military combat, as in my case, natural disasters, sudden death of a loved one, or divorce in the case of some children. Now that we know a little bit about what PTSD is, let's see how it can affect a person in their day-to-day life. There are many effects of post-traumatic stress disorder that can cause someone's day-to-day life to be consistently altered. People who suffer from PTSD are more likely to suffer from mental and physical illnesses as a result of being in or having witnessed a traumatic event in their lifetime. Anxiety and depression, which I have medications for right here, are commonly found in individuals that suffer from PTSD. As we know and have heard, PTSD is defined as a mental or a psychological order, which makes sense in my opinion as to why anxiety and depression are commonly found in individuals who suffer from this. There have been some studies and reports that conclude the effects of PTSD may be linked to physical health problems as well, such as arousal symptoms and overall poor health. According to the Nebraska Department of Veterans Affairs, in an article they titled "What is PTSD?" People with PTSD may feel consistently alert after the traumatic event. This is known as increased emotional arousal, and can cause difficulty sleeping. Got my Ambien. Outbursts of anger or irritability, and difficulty concentrating. They may find that they are constantly on guard, on the lookout for signs of danger. They may also find that they get startled a lot. Although there are not a lot of studies directly linking PTSD to specific health problems, there is some proof that sufferers of PTSD are generally in poorer health due to suffering from this disorder, and there is some evidence that supports PTSD is related to some cardiovascular, gastrointestinal, and musculoskeletal disorders, and that was according to the Department of Veterans Affairs website, an article they had titled "PTSD and Physical Health." Sleeping disorders such as nightmares or lack of sleep, once again got the Ambien, or too much sleep are also side effects of PTSD. Lack of sleep or too much sleep can cause physical havoc on the body, and anyone in this audience who has had a traumatic event can attest to this. Now that we know how PTSD can affect people in their day-to-day life, let's take a look at how an individual with PTSD can be treated. There are several treatments for PTSD, and according to Jessica Hamblin, PhD, who wrote an article for the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs National Center for PTSD, there's two common types of therapy that help PTSD individuals. You got cognitive processing therapy, which is to understand your goal, how certain thoughts about your trauma because you stress and make your symptoms worse. And then there's prolonged exposure therapy, which is one that I went through. By talking about your trauma, you repeatedly with a therapist, you'll learn to get control of your thoughts and feelings about the trauma. You'll learn that you do not have to be afraid of these memories you have. This may be hard at first, and for some people it is. It might be strange to think about stressful things on purpose, but you'll feel less overwhelmed over time. Please trust me in this because I'm living proof this particular method, it can work. And other types of therapy include group therapy or discussion, medication, or family therapy, because PTSD doesn't just affect one person in the household. Now you're familiar with some of the treatments of PTSD. Let's go back over what I covered today. And today I spoke to you all about PTSD and how it can be more than just a mental disorder, and what are some of the ways that you can help combat it. Thinking about PTSD as just a mental health issue that can be just medicated away does a disservice to those affected. Instead, seeing PTSD as a complex mind and body problem opens the door for thinking about innovative and integrative ways to help combat this. Thank you.